preparing for lunch outside. Gonna fry some burgers, some fat for cooking, ketchup and the barbecue sauce, cheese, and best of all, this is the cooking gear. This is it. This is actually the stove, Fireant mini stove. Let's see it in action. So now I have got the Fireant stove burning. I apologize for the noisy environment in this video. We had to change our plans because of the weather forecast, so we couldn't really do the excursion we wanted to do in the woods. We had to stay near the house, or we preferred to stay near the house. So the advantage of this is obviously it provides a really handy platform for any kind of cooking gear. Ja, vad bra.
Det kan vi lägga runt.
Det kan vi göra. And it's very efficient compared to cooking over open fire.
Pappa, jag lägger runt.
You need almost. Jag gör det. You don't need much firewood at all. Whatever biomass you can find lying around will do the job. So I'm gonna flip some burgers on this stove now, just when I have the grease warmed up. Vänta lite. Add some more fat. Jag gör det. And there are obviously other brands of similar mini stoves around. I've seen someone with hinges, which also folds flat like this one does. And there are these cylindrical ones that are supposedly even more energy efficient and burns with even less soot. At least that's the story in the marketing of those. But one big advantage with this is you can feed it from the front, because since you use very little amount of biomass, it burns out real quick. So you have to feed it constantly, and I don't see how you could do that on the cylindrical ones without lifting off the cooking utensils all the time. So it's very convenient.
Pappa, vad fotar du? Pappa.
Ja, snart. Är du hungrig? Fem minuter. And the Fireant also comes with this little platform if you want to use a dry fuel tablet, if you're not able to cook with wood. I've never used it, but probably works fine. I intended to use it once. We were going to a zoological park, and we were going to bring it as a kitchen to warm up some food, but I didn't find any open shop where I could buy the dry fuel tablets, so we ended up actually sneaking away to a corner in the zoological garden and cooking with firewood that we found lying around, and nobody really took notice of it. So it's really the thing is that this one burns with such a little amount of fuel. So perfect. So you could use it in a lot of places where you wouldn't, or where you would hesitate to make a fire. Maybe even in a in a botanical garden or places like that. At least I would do that. Maybe I shouldn't recommend anybody to do it. But, and like I said, the thing is that you feed it from the front while you're cooking, so it makes it very easy to control. And just collecting a little bit of biomass like this, you'll be okay to flip some burgers. So here we go. Burgers made outside with extremely lightweight, convenient and efficient gear, cooking gear. Very nice. Oj då. So to sum up, the things that have struck me as advantages with this Fireant cooking stove, or I suppose this concept of a mini cooking stove in general, compared to using a traditional kerosene or gas kitchen, is obviously it's obviously the independence of any fuel that you won't have to bring, and compared to cooking over open fire, it's so much easier, so much more efficient. You have the platform provided to place any cooking gear and the cooking pans, and you also get by with very much less fuel. You also get less soot on the cooking pans, although you will get some. You will also be able to use this one in places where you wouldn't hesitate to make an open fire for various reasons. And yeah, it's just fun. If you enjoy making a fire, and you know, go for this one, this kind of kitchen, because it's so much easier. Sometimes collecting wood for a fire is a bit of a thing, if it's, especially if it has been raining and stuff like that. In this case, if you just find some pine tree under which one you can collect some dry twigs, you're fine, even if it has been raining. It doesn't take much, and it's very, very easy to light up. It's very, very easy to start the fire in here compared to starting like a bonfire, a fire outdoors on free ground. So a very good option in my opinion. Now, since I have mentioned so many good things about the Emberlit Fireant mini stove, I'm going to try to be a little bit more balanced and also take up some cons. As I already mentioned, it's very, very compact, and that is obvious. It doesn't really take up any space or weight. Eliminates the whole issue of having to store any fuel for your camping kitchen. I think that's more than being a financial issue. I think for most people anyway, it's a matter of you don't really end up in the situation where you have forgotten to refill your fuel. So that's a good thing. You're always good to go. It's apocalypse safe. Whenever you're gonna need it, it's gonna be ready to go. It's very easy to manage when you're cooking on it. It's easy to manage the temperature, probably more so than if you're using an alcohol stove, because since you feed it all the time, you pretty much attend to it constantly while you're cooking. It's easy to regulate how much twigs or whatever you use that you're gonna put into it, and it's fun. It's, if you're like me, it's more fun to cook on fire than on a traditional camping stove. And the big con, obviously, is the smoke and soot issue. You get soot everywhere if you're not careful. It's like if you have ever been cooking on a traditional wood burning stove in a camping cabin, someplace like that, where the cooking pot rests immediately above the flames. You're gonna get soot on the bottom of the cooking pots, and if you're not careful, you're gonna get it on your fingers, on your nose when you're rubbing your face. You're gonna get it on your clothes. So this issue is even a bit more so with this Emberlit Fireant, because you have to disassemble it and you have to put it back where you store it and stuff. So you have to really develop a skill, a cautiousness and a skill for how to handle this thing without getting all dirty and messy, and without having to change your clothes every time you have used it. So that one takes a little bit of practicing, I think. The smoke issue is not so bad. It's much better than if you were cooking over open fire or even barbecuing over open fire. Many times, if I do that, I find that I have to wash all my clothes because it's all smoky. It's not so bad with this one. I can actually go out and do some easy cooking on it in the wood, and then reuse my sweater, walk into the shop or something like that without being all smelly. And also, this is obviously not an issue with the Emberlit Fireant. This remark, it's the whole concept of cooking with fire, cooking with wood. It's a little bit complicated to assemble. It's not a huge deal, but it's a little bit, just considering the soot issue, it would be nicer to have something that folds really flat by itself, just without having to work so much on the disassemblement, because it's very easy to get dirty on your hands when you're working with it. It needs very active maintenance while you're cooking, you have to put in firewood all the time to keep it going. The other aspect of this is that it's, as I mentioned, it's very easy to control the effect, the output. So, it's a little bit too expensive for my taste, at least if you live in Europe. It's gonna be, I think it's a bit twice as much as you would like to have paid for it. I don't have the number in my head right now, but especially considering that you could really make something like this pretty easy. You could really just use a can and make a couple of holes in it. But once you have it, it's so practical, so you're gonna start to like it. That's pretty much it. Good luck.